listener production.
This is the time of year when a lot of us are getting ready to head to the snow. Cue Aldi's chaotic middle aisle snow gear Saturday. But a new study has found global heating will all but wipe out the industry, and in less time than I think many of us had imagined. The traditional season, from the June long weekend to the October long weekend, is 120 days, or 4 months. This new study has found the season will be reduced to just 55 days by 2050. So what can we do to turn things around? Or is it too late and the $2 billion a year industry literally melts away? Sam Quirke is from Protect Our Winters, a global organisation highlighting the threat the climate crisis poses to the winter industry around the world. He joined the briefing's Katrina Blowers.
So Sam, as somebody who grew up near the ski fields, your study was pretty concerning to me, and it found that the industry could be reduced by more than half in the next 25 years, which actually isn't that long. What have we seen this year with the season starting last weekend?
Yeah, so Katrina, it's been quite a challenging start to the season in Australia. A number of resorts weren't able to open, unfortunately. We do have season openers that are absolute booms, like we did 2 years ago, and we have busts, which we're seeing this year and like last year. We've always had season openings that are good and bad, but what the research out of the ANU from this report that Protect Our Winters Australia has commissioned, what that tells us is that as the globe warms more, we are going to face more and more challenges to ski seasons, and these starts to the winter are going to be more and more frantic and fragile, and more inconsistency in the seasons moving forward.
One of the issues that you mentioned in the report is the influx of rain in alpine areas, and snow falling as rain doesn't really work at snowfields, does it?
No, of course not. So you need it to be real cold to make snow and for it also to snow. And in Australia, which is a very warm and flat country, we're very lucky to be able to ski and snowboard and enjoy snow in the first place when we compare ourselves to countries around the world. You know, it's so unique that we can ski in Australia, and we're on a knife edge as it is in terms of how much we hover around 0 degrees through winter. So if we see more and more global heating, as we've seen in the past number of decades, then our seasons are really at risk. But the good thing to note, and what we want people to take away from this independent report, is that if we can get to a low emission scenario, then we can have a 15% longer ski season than a mid emission scenario, and it will be 25% longer than a high emission scenario. So to save our alpine areas and our really important winter tourism industry and regional economies that surround it, we need to reduce carbon pollution quickly this decade. And that's what this report recommends and is calling for, and what we here at Protect Our Winters are fighting for as well.
Yeah, I love how you've also presented solutions as well as just the problem, and we'll go into a bit more detail on those solutions in just a sec. But I'm curious to know how the industry has reacted to these findings. I mean, the industry, as I mentioned earlier, is worth $2 billion a year. Do you think the industry is doing enough to address the problems associated with climate change?
Yeah, we're really confident that we can work constructively and proactively with the industry. It's obviously scary when reports like this come out, but what the goal of this independent report is to bring national attention to the issue that our alpine environments face under a warming planet, and rally our community and industry around working hard to protect it, and to calling on the government, state and federal, to accelerate a transition to a renewable economy so that we can reduce global warming and protect our winters and give our communities and industry the best chance of thriving this century.
Now, I'm sure some people might be listening to this and going, oh, but we've got snow machines. We can just make fake snow. Is that a possible solution to this?
For only a certain period of time. The modelling in the report does factor in snowmaking and enhances in snowmaking technology, but still, as the climate warms, the harder and harder it will be to make snow. And the more energy and the more water that we'll need to make snow, which is maladaptive, and that impacts the environment that these ski resorts sit in significantly as well. So, and also anyone who's a keen skier knows that you don't want to be skiing on man-made snow. You want to be skiing on natural, fresh stuff. So the industry has done a great job at prolonging the seasons that we have and growing them in days compared to 50 years ago. But in the future, we really, really need to curb global heating by reducing carbon, CO2, global pollution and climate pollution rather. And that's the best chance that our ski resorts have at thriving this past 2050.
So paint a picture for us of what snowfields will look like in 20 years' time. What are the resorts that are most at risk if we do nothing?
What we found was that under a meter-missing scenario, by 2050, on average, the ski season is going to be 44 days shorter, which is a reduction of 42%. And under a high emission scenario, it'll be 55 days shorter, which is 52% reduction. Now, that's an average of resorts, including the low elevation resorts up to the higher elevation resorts. So resorts like Thredbo, Mount Hotham will fare a bit better or much better than resorts like Mount Buller and Mount Baw, Mount Selwyn as well. So the real risk is for all resorts, but significantly for the lower elevation resorts. And but the good news is that if we can get the globe on track to a low emission scenario, then the impact is going to be much less.
Let's talk solutions now. How confident are you that the solutions will be embraced?
So I'm quite confident. It's a very well-known issue that the impacts of climate change on Australia and the world, and in a range of different ways. That's why we wanted to bring attention to the risk that the Alps are under. The economies of the Australian Alps contribute $3.3 billion in the winter economy in 2019 and employed 26,000 people. So that's in winter when tourism is typically slower in Australia, and that doesn't include all the restaurants, the ski shops, the bakeries in the towns surrounding it. So these are really important economies and in regions. So we're confident that bringing the attention of this on this issue to the government, state and federal, that will get the outcomes that we need for these communities. But we're already starting to see the resorts and communities start to move towards adapting to a warmer climate. So, investment in other activities such as bushwalking, backcountry skiing, and in the summer in mountain biking are some examples of that. But we need a more coordinated approach. We need more investment and support from government at all levels to make sure that communities are involved and their voices at the centre of this adaptation and this transition to tourism economies that can support these areas year round.
Yeah. And look, Sam, I think, mountain biking and bushwalking and all of those amazing summer alpine activities are certainly wonderful. But for the avid skiers amongst us, we want the best of both worlds. So I really hope that those strategies that you mentioned can be employed with the timeliness that they need to be.
Yeah, of course. And, we've seen great uptake in renewables. I think 40% of the national grid now is powered by wind, solar and other renewable sources. But we need to act harder and faster in this decade. And so that's what Protect Our Winters is calling upon. If you can head to protectourwinters.org.au and we outline there what the policy asks are at federal and state level. And that's what we're taking to Parliament, which we'll be visiting in 2 weeks to meet with the MP and discussing with them the needs of the community, the needs of the industry, so that we can protect this incredible thing that we get to do in Australia, which is to ski, snowboard, toboggan, however you enjoy the snow. It's worth protecting in Australia.
Hear, hear. Sam, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us on The Briefing.
Thank you.
Sam Quirke from Protect Our Winters, speaking there with The Briefing's Katrina Blowers. That's it for The Briefing today. We'll be back in your feed from 6 tomorrow morning. Before you go though, we'd love it if you could share this app with someone you think might enjoy it. And don't forget you can catch some of our interviews as videos on YouTube. Just search for Listener Newsroom and don't forget to subscribe. I'm Ben Sion-Siebert. Catch you next time.
Listener.